Loftus Durand is a radio presenter in the Dominican Republic. It's he who broke the story of the Indian origin diamond merchant MEHUL Choksi's presence in Dominica after Choksi had been reported missing in Antigua, where he resides. Durand spoke to me to tell the story of how he blew the whistle on the matter and a lot more. Loftus Durand of Radio Q95 FM, a very warm welcome. Thank you for joining me. I would like to draw your attention to something which has attracted international attention. The fact that you broke the story about the diamond merchant MEHUL Choksi being in Dominica after he had gone missing from Antigua. Could you tell me a little bit about how this happened, what exactly you came to know, and what were you in a position to tell listeners in your island of Dominica?
So what I did, I was hosting a radio program on Q95 FM in Dominica. This radio station, the program is called the Hot Seat. That is where we discuss all the pertinent matters as it relates to nation building and stuff. So in passing on that radio station, I mentioned the situation where this gentleman was missing from Antigua, but I just ran it as a story that I heard and reporting on it, but didn't know any information, didn't know anything about, the man, Mr. Choksi, or the events that would unfold thereafter. Lo and behold, I got a call from one of my listeners on the night of the 25th, about 8 o'clock in the night. And that person listening, told me, he confided in me and basically told me, Loftus Durand, the man that you reported on earlier in the day, about 10 o'clock in the morning, I can tell you, I am a police officer and we have this gentleman in our custody. I was taken aback. And so I asked this gentleman 3 times, just for confirmation, whether what he's telling me, it's confirmed. He repeated to me twice after that, yes, Mr. Durand, I can confirm to you that we have this gentleman in our custody. So I said, okay, I'm a person, I don't just take people's words just like it on surface value and run with it. So I made some calls, I made some inquiries, and about 3 a.m. on the Wednesday morning, that is Wednesday the 26th, I got the confirmation that I needed from sources close to the police force in Dominica that yes, we have that man in our custody. And so on the Wednesday morning, when I went back to the radio program, I asked 10 questions of the Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force, whether in truth and in fact, the man that is missing in Antigua and Barbuda, that is Mr. MEHUL Choksi, whether they had this guy in their custody, because we did not hear that making news in Dominica. So I found it very strange that somebody would be in detention having confirmed reports and the police would not say nothing. And so I asked the Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force 10 questions relating to the confirmed stories that I got from at least 3 different independent sources.
Well, that's very interesting. Tell me, the person who rang in to your radio station to tell you that he can confirm that MEHUL Choksi was in custody in Dominica, was he doing this officially or unofficially?
No, he did not rang into the radio station. He called me privately because I asked us. Yes, I made this statement on the radio about 10 o'clock on the Tuesday morning. But he, on the Tuesday night, about 8 o'clock, some hours after, he called me privately on my telephone and told me that the story that I touched on earlier, read this man that was gone missing from Antigua and Barbuda, I can confirm to you, Mr. Durand, I am a police officer and we have this man in our custody. He was not calling me in any official capacity. He was just calling me to give me a heads up. Me being a reporter, a radio host, and I announced that story earlier.
Well, that's excellent. Now, after that, what happened? So you declared on your radio station that this man is being held in custody in Dominica, and you asked 10 questions, as you said, of the Dominican police. What happens thereafter?
Okay, what happened after is a situation where a lot of things began to unravel. I asked the 10 questions about 10 o'clock in the morning on the Wednesday. And about 11:30, about an hour and a half after, I got a report from my counterparts, that is my news people in Antigua and Barbuda, that the police department in Dominica just confirmed with them that they have the man, Mr. Choksi, in their custody. And the police, so I realized from then on that something wasn't right. And so I began to dig a little deeper into the disappearance of Mr. Choksi from Antigua. And as I told you before, things have started to unravel that basically surprised me and a number of persons who were listening at the time.
Allegedly, he was supposed to be in the dead of night taken away onto a plane which was supposed to be at Dominica airport and whisked back to India. Is that your understanding? Is that what the plan was?
Well, I gladly use the word allegedly because it is still an allegation, and that is correct. Because up till this day that I'm talking to you now, this situation started to unfold on the 24th of May. We are now in July. And the Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force has not seen it fit to come to speak to the Dominican people as to how did Mr. MEHUL CHOKSI ended up in their custody. The only thing they did in their official capacity is to alert their counterparts in Antigua and Barbuda that they have this guy in their custody. And as I said, I want to repeat, that was after I broke the story that Mr. Choksi was in our custody. Now, a lot of allegations have been swirling around that Mr. Choksi himself said that he was kidnapped from Antigua and Barbuda, brought into Dominica via a boat, coupled men, and I'm hearing a woman name involved as well, kidnapped him. That is what Mr. Choksi is saying. Since that alleged kidnapping from the mouth of Mr. Choksi and his attorneys, there has been denial of that allegation by the powers that be in Dominica. That is the government, the politicians related to the government in Dominica, and a number of other persons that are closely connected to the government of Dominica and also the Antigua government. They are basically denying the fact that Mr. Choksi was kidnapped, abducted, as he is claiming.
So now, if allegedly there was a plan to hand over MEHUL CHOKSI to a plane which had been chartered by the Indian government and was apparently supposed to be waiting at Dominica airport, why did this plan go wrong? What happened? Do you have any idea or any details about that?
Well, again, what I can tell you is that this situation, as it is unfolding, it has taken many turns, many twists. And one of the first turns that situation took was the police in Dominica, and I am saying now under pressure, was made to tell their counterparts in Antigua and Barbuda that Mr. Choksi was in their custody. Of that same week on Wednesday, On Thursday of that week, a plane, a Bombardier 5000 jet, landed at our airport, that is at MEHUL Airport. A lot of persons are speculating that that plane came to pick up Mr. Choksy, but it was maybe some hours too late. Or it could have been that the plot to get Mr. Choksy back on Indian soil, it was foiled when I asked the questions of the Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force. So whichever the case, something was amiss, and that is what we are still trying to get to the bottom of in Dominica, in Antigua, and even in India as we speak.
When you say it was foiled, what do you mean?
Now I am saying that because I am the one who broke the story. I have been following that story to the T. And something, Mr. Ray, I can tell you, it is, some things are not adding up. Some things are definitely not adding up, because here it is. Under normal circumstances in Dominica, Mr. Choksy is charged by the police in Dominica for illegally entering Dominica. Illegal entry in Dominica for some persons has been like a pastime, a hobby. So that is not the first time persons have been entering Dominica illegally, especially during this pandemic time. When these persons enter Dominica illegally and they are captured, there's a process of law that is followed. And in that process, what normally happens is that they are caught or being assigned free. And that Choksy, based on my informant, told me that Mr. Choksy was in the police custody on the somewhere about the 23rd, 24th, the wee hours of the 24th. Now the police broke their silence on that matter on the 26th, as I said. So you can well imagine now, he was in Dominica's police custody, like way up past the time, the normal time of anyone entering Dominica illegally. So that is why I am prepared to say now, something went wrong, and it's because that plot was foiled somewhere in the process, and that is why the police in Dominica had no choice but to come clean as to the whereabouts of Mr. Choksy. A lot of persons are suggesting that that plane that came down to Dominica, and mark you, it stayed there on the tarmac for at least 4 days. It came in the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it left this Sunday. Plane did not come just to bring, as Mr. Gaston Brown said on public record, to try to get Mr. Choksy back to India. Some persons are suggesting that it was a much more sinister plan at play there. But again, something went wrong, and we are where we are at this time.
By Gaston Brown, of course, you're referring to the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda.
Yes, sure.
Could I ask you then that my understanding is that there's free movement between the islands of Antigua and Barbuda and the Dominican Republic. And it has also been reported that Choksy was carrying his driving license. He didn't have his passport because he claimed that he had been kidnapped, and therefore he wasn't carrying his travel papers, or for that matter, his medicines, because he is quite an ill person in terms of his health. He had a major heart surgery, I believe, in New York not so long ago, and so on. So when and if he produced his driving license, which was an Antiguan driving license, would not that be a document that should have been or would normally have been recognized by Dominican authorities?
Yes, you are right on that, in that I know for sure a number of persons have been traveling and they are still traveling to different CARICOM member countries with just their driver's license. So Mr. Choksi, it is said he bought a passport through the CIP program from Antigua and Barbuda in 2017. And so that would automatically allow him to travel, free travel that is, without any hindrance among these CARICOM countries with just a driver's license, because a lot of other persons have done that, and that is the situation still as we speak.
So your leader of opposition, Lennox Linton, has categorically said that there was collaboration between the Dominican government, the Indian government, and the Antiguan and Barbudan government. So what is your opinion on that?
Well, the leader of the opposition, I heard him said those words. I am not at liberty to say that the Gaston Brown government and the Roosevelt Skerrit government in Dominica, they were categorically involved. I am not at liberty to say that. What I am saying is that based on how things unfolded and still continue to unfold, certain things are just not adding up. And there's a saying that goes, an old time folk that says, you never see smoke without fire. And I can tell you, this case with Mr. MEHUL CHOKSI, it has a lot of fire in it. And it was that smoke that emanated from the police headquarters that kind of, indicated that the fire that we are going through now with the legal battles, the medical battles, and everything that goes with it, it says something is not right. And to me, that is where now the onus is on the courts in the region to do what is right. If Mr. MEHUL CHOKSI is found wanting at the end of the process, I will be the first one to put up my hand and say, Mr. CHOKSI, you did whatever it is against the law, you need to face your time or pay your fine. But if he is not found wanting, then the other actors involved or allegedly involved should as well be recipients of the full ambit of the law as well.
And do you have full confidence in the court process in Dominica?
Well, as an ordinary citizen, I cannot say that, because I live in Dominica, and the situation for our courts in Dominica, it is one that is wanting, in that justice must not only be done, but it must be seen to be done. That was established all the way back in 1932 by Lord Herald when he presided over matter. And that still holds true today in the legal system. But in Dominica, we have had a number of cases where it is believed that there are political tentacles that get in the way of true justice in Dominica. In the interest of time, I will not go down into details, but I can tell you there are a number of scenarios in Dominica whereby some cases, especially those that are not pro-government, they are left in our judiciary system in limbo, in a limbo state. There are a number of them. You have a number of cases where the official opposition members, they are held before the courts for incitement, for obstruction of justice, for, charges that are, I am saying because I live here, are trumped up charges. You have a number of opposition supporters as well, who are held before the courts as well on, again, a number of trumped up charges. And for some reason, these cases, they are not dealt in a very they are not dealt with a level of alacrity. They are there and they are just sitting and lagging and lagging and lagging.
I've seen reports to the effect, and your leader of opposition has also mentioned this, that the government of Narendra Modi in India has been putting pressure on the Dominican government to send Mehul Choksi back to India rather than to Antigua, where he happens to be a citizen.
Well, I can tell you straight off, Mr. Ray, if the government of Dominica would go down that road and circumvent or bypass the laws, that would be, to me, I would consider that to be either legal or political suicide. Because granted, Mr. Choksi, he bought his Antiguan citizenship. That is on record. It is a fact. So in truth and in fact, he is an Antiguan citizen. And being a citizen of any country, one has certain rights that must be protected by the country, and more so in the region that we're talking about. In the region, there are certain rights that must be respected because you're a member of CARICOM. Now, whatever it is, Mr. Choksi is alleged to have been done in India, that is left for the Indian courts and Indian police, Indian law to decide on his fate. But it cannot be that you will pick him up from Antigua or even Dominica, where he is now in a hospital, bring him to India without following the due process that the law prescribes. That I can tell you, it will not go down well with a lot of lawyers, a lot of legal minds. And again, I just want to repeat, if the Dominican government would go down that road by circumventing the law and do that to Mr. Choksi, but not just Mr. Choksi, to any other person, then to me, I am saying that could either be legal suicide or political suicide.
Very recently, your Prime Minister, Roosevelt Skerrit, has gone on record to say that Mehul Choksi's rights will be protected. And he's also said, of course, that there was no collusion between his government and India and Antigua as far as the kidnapping of Mehul Choksi was concerned. What are your feelings about these?
Well, I heard him say that, and as I normally say, once the process is followed in terms of the legal process that is on now, if Dominica is to be exonerated, if Antigua is to be exonerated, then it is what it is. But as I said before, just saying that your government will follow or is prepared to follow the course of law, then it doesn't really cut it, because the evidence that are before us now, the things that are being brought to light at this time, again, I want to repeat, some things does not fall in place. And it is just a matter of time before those cubes fall in place as to that unfolding saga, I call it, that is unfolding in Dominican.
As you know, here in London, the matter has been referred to Scotland Yard for investigation under Britain's Universal Jurisdiction Act, which effectively means that even if a crime is committed outside the United Kingdom, a person can be brought to book in the UK under this legislation. And so Scotland Yard has confirmed that a referral was made to them. There are 4 UK residents who are mentioned as being part of a plot to kidnap Mehul Choksi and then ferry him to Dominica. Do you have any reports in your region about Scotland Yard investigating the matter?
Well, yes, I can confirm to you that I got confirmation from my colleagues in Antigua and Barbuda that some representatives of Scotland Yard, they are in Antigua as we speak, and they are doing their necessary investigations, looking into the matter of Mr. Choksy, and also that of if that is the English nationals are involved in the allegedly kidnapping situation of Mr. Choksy.
Loftus Durand, I congratulate you once again for your efforts. I wish you success in further investigations in the matter. And for now, for your time, thank you very much indeed.